Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For decades, the growth of regulations touching every aspect of life has hampered Kentuckians and Kentucky businesses. Courts in Kentucky and at the federal level aided in this regulatory mission creep by granting regulators deference in the way that they interpreted the laws that they were charged with implementing. Last year, the U.S. Supreme Court repudiated this method, which was called the Chevron deference. The bill's sponsor and I believe that now is the time for Kentucky's courts to make the same change. Mr. Speaker, would you have the clerk report House Committee Sub 1?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Committee Substitute 1 to House Bill 84.
Gentleman from Laurel.
Move adoption.
Question for the body is on adoption of House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Laurel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. House Committee Substitute 1 writes into law that the court should apply de novo review to the agency's final order on questions of the law. De novo in Latin means anew, from the beginning, or afresh. What this means in a court of law is that the judge should exercise their own independent judgment in deciding whether an agency has acted within its statutory authority. To be clear, this bill does not diminish the powers of the court. In committee, some of my colleagues raised concerns that this might be overstepping the separation of powers. And to the contrary, this bill strengthens the courts because it encourages judges to search for the very best interpretation, giving them more latitude. It should not be good enough for a judge to say, well, there are 4 or 5 possible interpretations of this law, and here we have an administrative agency saying that they have always interpreted the law in this one way. So I'm going to defer to what that agency's interpretation is. Mr. Speaker, no, we all should want the judge to do his or her very best to figure out the meaning of the statutes we enact. We should not want a judge's interpretation of a law to take a backseat to what an administrative agency says the law means. Unless there are questions, Mr. Speaker, I move for passage of Senate Bill 84 as amended by House Committee Substitute 1.